Welcome to the Bonafide Literary Show. You have now been authenticated. Welcome, readers and friends, to the Bonafide Literary Show. I am your host, Deidre Huey. This is Season 3, Episode 11, our second video episode of the Bonafide Literary Show. This time, I have a new list. It's the top 3 listener-submitted best children's and teens books featuring or by people of color books. www.bonafideliteraryshow.com is the home of this show. You can also follow or subscribe to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, and of course right here on YouTube. It's always free, so you won't miss the next author interview or next video episode, Outskirts Science Fiction Theater, or the Book Tea with me, Deidre Huey, when you follow us on blogtalkradio.com. Don't forget to share all those links of this show, and also rate the show. There's always a new favorite author for you to hear about and learn from right here on the Bonafide Literary Show. Like next week, you can meet Too Bossy on the Bonafide Literary Show Season 3 finale, T.P. Miller on Outskirts Science Fiction Theater, and George Finder on the Book Tea. Hey, what about those kids' books? I got you. How about this one? In Shahara Ruth's Shantae and the Golden Shoe, Shantae, a small girl, is the heroine of this unique tale. She, along with her best friend, the village mosquito, save her village from the curse of a golden shoe found by her father in a nearby magic lake. Like the famed Aesop fables, Shantae and the Golden Shoe includes a moral that uses animals as significant figures to relate the message of the story. This kiddie book, Shantae and the Golden Shoe, comes in several formats including hardcover, softcover, ebook, braille, and a read and play audiobook to give access to all readers. Purchase Shantae and the Golden Shoe by Shahara Ruth on Amazon.com, Exilbris, and Google Books. That was our first book. With a new spin on a classic, it sounds amazing, doesn't it? But let's get to the kids' books you chose for me to recommend. The first book on our list of listener-submitted children's and books featuring or by people of color is House of Purple Cedar by Tim Tingle. In this teen book, the hour has come to speak of troubled times. Rose Good is growing up in Indian Territory. This is her story. The time is pre-statehood Oklahoma. Scullyville, a once thriving Choctaw community, was destroyed by land grabbers, culminating in the arson on New Year's Eve, 1896, of New Hope Academy for Girls. 20 Choctaw girls died, but Rose escaped. She is blessed by the presence of her grandmother, Peconi, and her grandfather, Amofo, both respected elders who understood the old ways. Soon after the fire, the white sheriff beats Amofo in front of the townspeople, humiliating him. Instead of asking the Choctaw community to avenge the beating, her grandfather decides to follow the path of forgiveness. And so unwinds this tale of mystery, Indian-style magical realism, and deep wisdom. It's a world where backwoods spiritualism and Bible-thumping Christianity mix with bad guys, a one-legged woman shopkeeper, her oath of a husband, herbal potions, and shape-shifting panthers rendering justice. Tim Tingle, a scholar of his nation's language, culture, and spirituality, responding to a scarcity of Choctaw literature, began interviewing tribal elders in the early 90s. Tim tells Rose's story of good and evil with understanding and even laugh-out-loud Choctaw humor. His collection, Walking the Choctaw Road, was the Oklahoma Book of the Year. Tim Tingle's children's book, Crossing Bok Chitto, garnered over 20 state and national awards, including Best Children's Book from the American Indian Library Association, and was an editor's choice in the New York Times Book Review. Pretty good, huh? Let's keep it coming then. The second book on our list of listener-submitted children's and teens book by or featuring people of color you just recently heard about on the Bonafide Literary Show. Jack and the Red Beanstalk is by Aphrodite Antoine. This is Aphrodite's first book where she took a classic tale and gave it some multicultural magic modernized. But she doesn't stop here. Newbietales.com is her website where you can get the latest about her next book, Talisha Snow White. It's a site which celebrates diversity and exposes children to people and places from a variety of cultural backgrounds. In Aphrodite's reimagined story of Jack and the Red Beanstalk, Jack explores Iwa, the world of the giants. With Grandpa's help, Jack uses his smarts and some very special tools passed down through the generations to defeat the giants. Here's what Aphrodite Antoine had to say about why she wrote the book. I released my children's book entitled Jack and the Red Beanstalk, JRBS, in 2014. The first of a 4-book series, JRBS has a modern twist on an old classic as Jack travels to Iwa, which means air in Swahili, on a beanstalk grown from a magical red bean. There, Jack encounters brooding giants and defeats them with his Galimba, Sonye axe, and Sankofa bird, bow and arrows. I wrote this series to confront the lack of diversity in children's literature. According to the 2013 Cooperative Children's Book Center study, approximately 2.9% of books feature African or African American characters. The numbers are even more daunting for Asian and Latino audiences at rates of less than 2% of books published. Aphrodite went on to say, poor cultural context is a key factor that inhibits reading intuition and maintenance. Simply put, children may not engage in reading if the characters they read about do not share in their cultural or ethnic experience. This lack of engagement and interest in reading in childhood is normally reinforced through adulthood and passed on to future generations, creating a cycle of poor reading habits. Considering the life course approach, a child's reading behavior has significant consequences later on in life, as reading proficiency is directly correlated to increased graduation rates, improved health outcomes, and higher earning potential. In general, proficiency in reading creates the floor for lifelong learning and success. To address the need for greater representation, my book series reimagines classic children's stories from a modern multicultural perspective. Every story celebrates diversity and the uniqueness of the Black AFAM experience, and exposes children and parents to geographies, diets, customs, images, artifacts, and behaviors of various ethnic and cultural groups. To get Jack and the Red Beanstalk and more books by Aphrodite Antoine, visit newbietales.com. The third book on our list of listener-submitted children and teens books featuring or by people of color is My Heart and Other Black Holes by Jasmine Warga. My Heart and Other Black Holes is a heartbreaking and life-affirming novel about the suicide pact between two teens and the growing bond between them. It's about Isel's struggle with her identity pushing her to the edge. The novel is about love and self-acceptance that can save Isel and a boy who's ready to die. My Heart and Other Black Holes shows the transformative power of love. 16-year-old physics nerd Isel is obsessed with plotting her own death. With a mother who can barely look at her without wincing, classmates who whisper behind her back, and a father whose violent crime rocked her small town, Isel is ready to turn her potential energy into nothingness. There's only one problem. She's not sure she has the courage to do it by herself. But once she discovers a website with a section called Suicide Partners, Isel's convinced she's found her solution. Roman, a teenage boy who's haunted by a family tragedy, is looking for a partner. Even though Isel and Roman have nothing in common, they slowly start to feel in each other's broken lives. But as their suicide pact becomes more concrete, Isel begins to question whether she really wants to go through with it. Ultimately, she must choose between wanting to die or trying to convince Roman to live so they can discover the potential of their energy together. My Heart and Other Black Holes by Jasmine Warga. That's it. That was your top 3 listener-submitted children's and teens books featuring or by people of color on the Bonafide Literary Show. What an amazing list you guys came up with. Something for everyone. Try out a diverse book and author. My mission for each and every episode encompasses the same of the We Need Diverse Books campaign. Don't read these books because she's black or he's white or they're Latino. Read these books by these authors because they can teach you and they can change you. And this is a diverse mix of indie and major published books. Have fun. And as always, appreciate the author of any book you hear about on the Bonafide Literary Show, you read or find somewhere else, and any other books in the Avid Reader Nation network by leaving a review. Sharing is caring. Hit those social media buttons too when you're done reading and reviewing. Until next time, your host, Deidre Huey, is signing off. Visit www.bonafideliteraryshow.com for more.